single candidate to be the Vice President of Internal Affairs. So, with this, I will open the floor for discussion and looking for questions. First, we have Lasfero.
Andrei, fast from Romania. I would like to ask you, how do you plan to make sure that chairpersons of events, of EPSA events, are well integrated in the
Marlene?
Marlene, candidate, thank you for the questions. This is actually one of the things I addressed in my nomination forms as well. Basically, we now have 2 future chairpersons already. And if elected, I would approach them frequently also during this event, making sure, depending on whether they have previous EPSA, whether they have had previous EPSA experience before, to make sure they know what they're joining, trying to actively integrate them into the internal department, and supporting them whenever needed, while being fully aware that their role is also leading their own RC and team, and they also can have help and support in that.
Thank you. First of all, there was some complaints about the AC, so if someone can turn off the AC. Thank you so much. Next question is Kathy. Kathy, Vice President of General Assembly candidate. I would also really focus on making sure that they have the knowledge. If some chairpersons might have already been OD or LS, that some others might not have had this chance. Make sure that they first really know what being an EPSA team member is all about, so that they can really actively contribute to the team, making sure that they have the knowledge, making sure that we as the internal affairs department can assist them wherever necessary, and that they just know what they are up to, because they are chairpersons organizing an event, and they will automatically become EPSA team members, which for some people might be as, I really want to be part of the EPSA team, I really want to contribute to all EPSAs contributing, but some others might want to have to focus on also just being the best possible chairperson they can be, and this is being done by being part of the EPSA team and really getting to know all the other positions so that they know who to approach about which different parts of the event. So it's just also taking their consideration into account, what would they like to gain of being an EPSA team member. Thank you. Next on the speaking list we have Maneb.
The availability of the VDI is very important in view of its mission and the need to be approachable by the EPSA team, the LSDs, and the mission of assisting the president. This is also important in terms of potential travel, especially with the VMF. So we would therefore like the candidates to explain to us their plan for next year regarding the university staff and other potential involvement in other associations.
So the question, Kathy, Vice President of the Internal candidate, is whether I have any other responsibilities aside from this position, university-related, association-related, right? To wrap it up. Okay, thank you. Kathy, Vice President of the Internal Affairs candidate. No, actually I combined last year with being president of one of my local associations, as well as being in the theater show of my local association, and this has proven that it was possible combining this with my events law position and my studies and being cast as executive member of the PhD. But it was really difficult, and I learned a lot of time management and team management skills from this, but I will never do it again because it was quite difficult combining all of these positions. So that's why I decided, also with uni being in my 4th year, that I will only focus on my Vice President of Internal Affairs position and my uni. I will not do anything beside that, so no, I do not have any responsibilities.
Thank you. Next, Marlene.
Marlene, EPA candidate. So during the upcoming year, basically as soon as I leave here, I have my last mandatory lab class that will take around a month. And after that, I will have exams from uni now and then, but nothing. The system in Austria is very hard to explain in like less than a minute. But basically, we also can choose our exam dates. So everything I do have complete open availability to travel to the VMFs or being available for meetings and everything. And also, I have this year my advisory role in AFIP, but as the new generation is taking over, this is also something that we will be greatly decreasing.
Thank you. Next on the speaking list we have Mihai, alumnus.
Mihai, alumnus, thank you both for your applications. Team management is something that is quite fluidly split between PPIA and president each mandate. I wanted to ask you, how would you split team management if you were to be chosen as PPIA? Thank you.
Marlene first.
Marlene, PPA candidate. Since I knew Gabriel was running for the presidential position, I did talk about this with him, and I also reached out to the past position holders how they divided the split, and basically what we discussed, if both elected, was that he would very likely get involved, to actively get involved in the human resources side of things, while the EPIA would be, of course, always approachable and always also have the human side of things, but I would also focus on the administrative side, as I am coming from the administrative department. And we also tackle any cases that come up very much together, and try to have any team member approaching us as a cohesive unit.
Thank you. Next, Kati.
Kati, Vice President of the as candidate. Well, I would definitely, well, now that he is elected as candidate, I will definitely discuss this with him. I did not discuss it beforehand because, in my opinion, you're only elected after, or you're only elected like after the elections. And beforehand, you can discuss these things, but it's also about making sure that after the elections, everything is clear and dividing the tasks. Because even before elections, you might not know what you're signing up to, and continuously evaluating how the division is going. Because in the beginning of the mandate, you might say, hey, I think this is a good division, but then maybe after a while you do not really agree, and you have to actively say, hey, how is the division going for now? Do we want to change anything? Do we want to change anything in the division, or do we just want to keep things how they are going?
Thank you so much. Next we have SFT.
Thank you so much, Lithuania. Thanks so much for all your answers. We heard that you're amazing candidates, and obviously the time both showed it. Could you make an elevator pitch for us why this position is so cool and why not any other position you will apply for? What do you personally love about this position? What is your motivation? We read your motivation, but now a special occasion to show how much you're dedicated to taking this one.
Kati.
Kati, that's, sorry, habit. Kati, Vice President of Internal Affairs elect. Sorry, it was too long. I didn't take a nap during the discussion. Okay. Kati, Vice President of Internal Affairs candidate. Well, I would really like this position because it combines all my past positions as a lens coordinator and also within the KPSV. It's a super social position, and I honestly could not say that I could more contribute to EPSA and any of the other executive positions because I do not have the appropriate experience. I'm in EPSA for 2 years, but still I do not think like any of the other positions in the team that I cannot contribute as any of the other positions in the team, and therefore also my management skills, my team management skills, as well in the KPSV, being president, being in my local committee. I cannot say that I could benefit more or EPSA could benefit more from having me in another position, and I would want to do what's best for EPSA, and I do not see myself better functioning in any other position than being Vice President of Internal Affairs.
Thank you. Next, Marlene.
Marlene, PPA candidate. Basically, when I first joined EPSA in 2017, I already shortly addressed it in my motivation letter. But I saw the EPSA team and said, I want to contribute. I like the international spirit. This is exactly what I want as an addition into my studies. And then over the years, I started to watch, grow, and learn, and see where I could evolve all my best skills. last year, I saw that the position of Secretary General was very much in need of someone who is really motivated to take over. But in the end, for me, all in all, members are the thing that is the most important thing in EPSA. Members are the reason we exist, and members are the only, members are the ones who give us focus and direction. So for me, without members, you do not have the focus you can go to. So I considered considered the BPA position for a few mandates because I think I try to think things through. And from what I have watched over the years and what I have gathered from past position holders, reports, everything I could, is that this would fit exactly my capabilities, and I could combine my more hard-focused, basically what I do now as more admin department, together with my love for members, my love of being an LS, my love of also having the human connections again of what I did in Alpha.
Thank you, Marlene. I think that slide is the time limit already passed. Moving on to Asa.
Valentine out of Switzerland. So, can you give us a quantifiable characteristics for active/inactive LSs?
Marina, BPA candidate, I think it's not only one, it's like the sum of all. It is, for example, giving input if a team member asks over email threads how active they are in internal, personal conversations, if they have any associations attending events, if they ask questions, if they reach out, if they answer, if the BPIA reaches out, it's more if there is a communication, if they are willing to improve, if they are willing to work with EPSA, if they're willing to wanting to further their association in EPSA, then I see them as active, no matter if they take part in many projects, yes or no. It's more about the motivation and if they want to also give input.
Catherine, Vice President of Internal Affairs candidate. I agree with all that Marlene said. It's important to take into account actively as in personal activity, making sure that deadlines are met, but also about activity on the national level. Even if you do not maybe make all the deadlines within EPSA, but you are super successful in making sure that your members are well represented in EPSA and your members are motivated about EPSA, that is also one of your main priorities as a LES. You are there to make the connection between the members and EPSA. And if you're struggling with meeting the deadlines and making sure to be involved in all EPSA projects, if you are still really actively contributing to making sure that your members know about EPSA, I would still consider you active even if you miss a lot of deadlines. It's not just about deadlines, it's about the work and about making the connection between your member association and EPSA, the distance smaller and the connection bigger. And additionally, it should be about meeting deadlines and doing stuff, but this is not a criteria for activity.
Thank you. Next on the list, BPSA.
Alex, BPSA. You've both stated how much it is a person-centered role, whether it's LFs or members. In the past, if you've been dealing with a team conflict, how have you resolved that situation and how are you going to put that into BPIA?
Catherine, Vice President of the Internal Affairs candidate. This was not necessarily in a team, but I have been active volunteering in an association called AFS. It stands for American Field Service, and it's an exchange program. I was in a buddy program, so I was paired with one of the exchange students that came to the Netherlands, and I was there to help them get used to their life in the Netherlands, as well as knowing where to provide information, help them, and just also give them a more personal aspect from Dutch culture. And also one of my positions or things was to solve issues between the hosting association and the member. And also I had a lot of I was already involved in international stuff because of my own exchange, and it was mostly if problems occurred, listening to what the member or what the student was going through, listening to her point of view, and then also talking to the hosting family. What did they expect? what she expects, trying to combine like expectations and finding common ground between them to make sure that they can solve it on their own. And if they really needed like bigger issues, if they have bigger issues, of course, we needed additional help. But in the beginning, it's mostly about making sure that everyone feels heard and that they are able to express what they feel like without having the feeling that other people are going to complain.
Please make sure that you have your answers within the 1 minute time. Yes. Marlene?
Marlene, VPA candidate. I maybe briefly summarizing my experience. I do have a peer education like that started in high school, and I was involved in the high school students body. So I was the one responsible if there was, for example, high school students who have had problems with teachers, trying to clear that up. I also have, without going into any of AFEP's internal discussions, because this is really not the point, we did have as a local association communication with the national association once. I also was very active with the national associations, and as always, when you have a lot of people coming together who have one common goal but maybe do not agree on the way this goal is reached, you do have a lot of trying to find common grounds, trying to facilitate discussions, and trying to make sure that everybody is heard.
9.6.
The motion was not seconded, so is not taken into consideration. Next, we have Maya on the speaking list.
Member coordinator, Patrick. LSs are highly encouraged to be present at all the team meetings. How will you motivate LSs to attend the team meetings and explain the importance of their presence?
Marina VPA candidate. So I think first of all, LSs need to be aware, which means as soon as we know the dates of the team meeting, which would be, for example, we know right before a Congress, there is a team meeting, just making sure everybody knows the dates. See if there is anything that can help. Like also get them in contact with the local associations, because also for the 30 meeting, for example, we do have a host associations. Make sure that all their questions about either travel, accommodation, or anything are answered. Then also, of course, explaining the importance, explaining that there is only five times a year where the whole team gets together in person and discusses the importance, and therefore also explaining the importance that LSs are very much welcome, because we do always welcome the input of members. And also in the LS training already start explaining everything.
Then Kati?
Kathy, Vice President of the Zero Vice Candidate. I would really highlight what a team meeting is, because a team meeting states that it's a meeting for the team, is an initial impression. Well, this is not the case. It's just a discussion about having the team there all come together to discuss the projects. And even though we are not discussing like solely our positions, we are discussing the projects. And LSs are essential in giving input on our projects and striving on how to make EPSA grow further. It's not a meeting of the team where we will update each other, because we always update each other. We have minutes. We know what we are doing. It's just about what can we improve on our association. And we always have points. Like, for example, during this team meeting, I had a point about organizing alternative events during EPSA events. Your opinion was equally as important as the one of the EPSA team. And sometimes we don't, and therefore I think it's essential for the LSs to be at the team meeting, and good communication is required. So this also includes saying, hey, we want input on this point during this agenda point, and making sure that they know the agenda.
Thank you. Next on the speaking list, Maeva.
Maeva, coordinator. The Internal Affairs Department is a department where each coordinator is quite autonomous. Do you have any plan to have a cohesive department?
Kathy, Vice President of the Zero Affairs Candidate. Well, I've been in a department for 1 year, and it can be quite difficult to collaborate, because during because in general we don't have any projects together, but it doesn't mean that we can't have an informal communication with each other, because we are still a department, and even though we don't work together, we can still have a good informal bond, be connected, have hangouts, have everything that every other department has, except for like maybe the common projects and like the common workload that is additionally with this project. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't, like, we can still be as active as every other department, and from past position holders, I've also heard that actually they have been, and that actually they have had super good connections with the internal affairs department, even though they didn't have any common projects. Common projects can help, but it isn't a necessity for them to be engaged in the department.
And Marlene?
Marlene, EPA candidate. I agree with there is no 100% need to have one common project. The Internal Affairs Department is also a department that you should just feel comfortable reaching out to when you have a question. Feel comfortable to get feedback on an idea you have, and I think implementing early on ways that you want to communicate, just setting up how you wanna have this department throughout the year, and then constantly evaluating how you want to do this. Also, when you see each other live, if possible, visit each other, try to make a personal connection. If not possible, try to see each other on the events that we are meeting in person, and try to have some department time together. Try to actively reach out, try to keep each other's updated from day-to-day lives, what is happening, because it's way easier to connect with each other when we know what's going on also in our personal lives.
Thank you. Next there is SOB Denmark.
Jasmine from Denmark. As we all know, COVID-19 has had a major effect and impact on mental health. And EPSA and other student organizations all over Europe, they had a huge focus on this matter. So my question is that how you are gonna ensure and support the LS's well-being and also mental health. Thank you.
Yes, Marlene. Marlene, EPA candidate. Thank you for the question. Mental health has been indeed a big topic throughout the whole year, also within the EPSA team, because there are always many ways you can improve this. I think it is very important to also provide opportunity for everyone to share their own personal stories if they wish to, and having an individual approach to people, because some people really want only to do the work, other people want to feel the connection, and not forcing anyone that they don't want to. If people are speaking up because they feel overwhelmed, try to approach them, try to find out where EPSA can support them, try to find out which are the best ways you can also maybe help them in the long term. Is this a long-term discussion? Is this something that has happened to the position holders in the past? And is there any long-term solution we can propose?
Thank you. Kathy?
Kathy, our Vice President of the Internal Affairs candidate, I also think mental health is really essential for the well-being of the LSs and the team, because if you're mentally not well, really making the most out of your position is going to be really difficult. There are several reasons for lack of activity. One of them might also just be that you're super occupied, and mentally everything is going well, but that you're just focusing on uni, for example, right now. But another thing could be that mental health issues are occurring. So, for example, if there's a lack in activity, you can always approach it and ask, how are you doing? You cannot force them to tell you anything, but you can be proactive and say, hey, is there anything I can help you with? They should know that they are always able to share their feelings with you, and that they will be able to confide in you, and that you will be able to assist them whenever necessary and with whatever necessary. If it's related to exactly their LS position, or just about the things that are influencing how they are doing their LS position, because as I said, if you're struggling mentally, making the most out of your LS position will be really difficult.
Thank you. Next on the list, EPSA Ireland. Dropped.
Portugal. EPSA's main mission is to properly represent European pharmacy students. This also means that one of EPSA's goals must be increase the number of students it represents. We have been watching some members resigning, other ones not being able to do their activities or membership fees. How do you aim to tackle, if so, this matter?
Kati?
Cathy, Vice President of Internal Affairs. Candidate, yes, I'm trying to actively change this if I would be elected. We have the LS master sheet spreadsheet, which is based on all the LS firms that are filled in the beginning of the mandate. Where they fill in when their mandate starts and when their mandate ends. I use this spreadsheet as a means for me to contact the LSs personally when, for example, I was making the investigation on the lack of bids, because it was essential for every association to fill it in. Back then, I already saw that some LSs had mentioned, like, yeah, my LS mandate is ending in 2018, 2019. That means that since then, they've not had any active LS being representing their association. And from EPSA, I've not. Maybe the Vice President of Internal Affairs in the past has contacted them, but as far as we were aware, they didn't have an LS. So I would actively check this list, make sure if there's an LS missing, contact their association, contact the past LS to make sure that we can increase their activity.
Thank you. Marlene? Clarification?
So the question you're asking is how to make, like, having EPSA generally more students within EPSA. So can you maybe?
Yes, Albert?
Portugal. So the question is regarding to have more students represented by EPSA, but also how to tackle the inactivity of some member associations and the fact that they are not being sometimes able to give the membership fee. So I mentioned the two things in the question we mentioned.
First of all, Kati, are you okay with your answer? So I will have the question put out again, and then I'll let Kati answer, and then
Cathy, that's for me. The thing I wanted to add is that it's basically two questions, because membership fee is a different thing. You should remind the LS of the membership fee and the LS forms and be proactive, like, hey, I saw that this was missing. But even before that, the membership fee should not be the thing you were discussing then. It should be, hey, I haven't seen that you're even active, and if then probably if they're not active, they're not going to pay the fee, because why would, if there's no LS, why would you pay the fee if the association doesn't really know who the LS is or the LS is missing? So it's really about, like, having all the LSs there, having no member which is not directly represented by the LS, just having knowledge of all the LSs, and if there's no LS appointed, making sure that we find contacts. Doing everything we can to make sure that either an LS is representing them or that we know why no LS is representing them, because then we can tackle the situation on why they are not represented. And then eventually, even if they have a super active LS, I believe, or if they have an LS that we know, then we can easily reach out for a membership fee.
Marlene?
Marlene, maybe I can relate. So for me, this is all two separate discussions. And I want to, basically I agree with Kathy about the membership fee. This is not something that should come up in like February, oh no, you need to do it now. This is something that should be just be aware in general, and if associations are struggling and know they are struggling, because normally you are aware of your association's budget, we can already discuss this beforehand with the team, with everyone, to see whether there is any way we can tackle this, and not try to do it in the last second. And as of inactiveness, apart from everything that has been mentioned before, and the individual approach, and trying to also find out other contacts if the LS itself is not responding, or we don't get an answer from any contact. Maybe also have neighboring countries reaching out and trying to establish some kind of contact. I would also just add that yes.
Thank you. Then we have a question from Gabriel.
Thank you, Gabriel, President-elect. Since we didn't have much attendance during town halls, how do you think me and you, if you're elected, should motivate the team to get involved in other departments' work in between team meetings.
Marlene?
Well, you need to be a candidate. I think setting up a plan in Hanover to have a common goal we're working towards will automatically increase the interest of everyone to see how much are we reaching this common goal. Because if we agree on one way to go and we align all the projects, it means one coordinator's project. If this is if it's beneficial and it grows, it also helps myself or another coordinator's project, because it's all connected, and when we work as a team to get together towards one common goal, and we actively ask for feedback, give input, and keep the conversation alive, it is, as a ground setup, way more likely to get more interest. As for town halls, I would either make them longer, stress them more, remind them more, or try to set up more that we have one topic during town hall that can be discussed freely and have it more as an open forum.
Thank you, Kati.
As the Vice President of Journal Affairs candidate, I agree with the last point. I think the town hall should be more focused on, for example, discussing some things. Now, they were always quite open. Hey, if you have anything to discuss about your position, feel free to join the town hall. And then I was always there, or not always, but I was there. And I was just basically chatting with exec because I didn't have anything specific on my position that I wanted to share. I just wanted to hang out with the team, but then no one of the, or very little team members were there. So I think in order to successfully provide information between team meetings, we could also implement maybe ideas like having, for example, a town hall dedicated to updates from one department, so that every department will be able to present their updates even during the team meetings or between the team meetings, so that they're still updated on each other, but also providing a way that the town halls are not necessarily like, hey, if you want to say something, go say something, because that didn't work. A lot of team members didn't really have ideas, and sometimes it was discussed, but overall it was just chit chat, and then, hey, when can we move on to our second meeting?
Thank you. Next on the speaking is Gabriel.
Gabriel, President-elect. If you are elected, what is the first thing that you will do tomorrow after the GA appoints the coordinators?
Kati?
Vice President as candidate, I would actively contact all the coordinators, chat with them, make sure that we can have the initial contact, because then they already know who I am, how I can help them, and also with the whole team. Maybe have in theory, I know tomorrow is gala night, but maybe we a half hour in between, we can just chit chat, or during gala night we can have all a drink together and make that initial bond, make a group chat, make sure that the initial contact is there, and also highlight the fact that we will have another election, that people will join, and that these people will be able to actively contribute to the team as well, and also encourage the team members to know that the EPSA team is not full, and that we need to fill these positions, because we as a team need to make sure that the team is full. So also for the people that are already in the team and that have already been elected, it should also be highlighted hey, if you have friends, if you have people, highlight it to your association. There are still positions open, and that you can join us. And a social media presence to make sure that we are a happy team and that people actually want to join this team.
Thank you, Marlene.
Candidate. I will, of course, I try to not duplicate the answers. So I'm agreeing with reaching out to coordinators, reaching out to everyone who was elected, because also the new executive is elected today. And also reaching out to those people who were not chosen, because they showed an interest in getting involved into the EPSA team. And maybe there is a different portfolio that they can still fulfill their, not only wishes, but their vision for how to get involved. And yeah, basically trying also to forming a cohesive group, trying to get personal connections out of the way, not out of the way, but trying to get personal connections, so that also in between coordinators there are also already discussions, because it shouldn't all depend on two people, that the team feels like a team.
We have a 9.3 proposed by FEF, seconded by Annette. All right, then I open the floor for discussion on the 9.3. I see no points. I close the floor for discussion on the 9.3. Then we will proceed to voting. Who abstains? against? Who is against? So I have 22 votes for, 1 abstention, 0 against. The motion was carried. There are no more speeches for the candidates. You have already listened to them. So then I would like to ask the candidates to leave the room. Also, we will proceed to the internal discussion. Please, everyone, close your laptops, close your phones.